In this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly how I went about fuse tapping, or if you want to call it quote-unquote hardwiring, my Garmin Mini to a 2018 GMC 2500 Sierra. So this is the kit I bought. I will link it down in the description below. I got it from Amazon. I've got to say I'm actually pretty impressed with the amount of stuff that comes with this. They give you your wiring, then they also give you 4 fuse taps. I wasn't expecting that. And it's kind of nice. They use sort of quick connect. You don't have to solder or crimp anything, which is nice. And then it also comes with a pry tool, and it comes with a fuse puller tool. So I wasn't expecting that. If you've never used a fuse tap before, the one thing that I want to note right off the bat is when you look at it, there's 2 fuse holes. The bottom fuse hole is going to be for the original fuse that you're pulling out, and then the top fuse is going to be for the fuse for whatever external device you're sending power to. So in this case, I've got a little 5 amp fuse in there for my Dashcam. I probably could use a smaller one, but that's just what they included, so I'm going to go with that. What you want to do when you're fuse tapping something like this is you want to find a fuse that is a ignition on fuse. So what that means is when the key is out and the car is off, there's no power being sent to it, and then when you turn it on, it'll send power, because you don't want the dash cam on recording all the time, obviously. So I'm going to walk you through how I went about finding that, as well as how I ran the wiring for this dash cam and project. So stay tuned, and I hope you guys enjoy this. So on a 2018 Sierra 2500, as well as 1500s and 3500s, this is going to work for probably a majority of your model year ranges. One of my friends has, I want to say it's a 2015, and we did about the same process on his. So what you've got is, I already removed this panel just because they're a little tricky to remove, and I can't do it while holding the camera, but as you can see here, there's a fuse icon. So this is the passenger side of the car right here on the side of the vent. There's a fuse panel back here. And what you do to pull it off is you want to just pull from the bottom to start, and then you can pull from the front and it'll all come off. As you can see, it's held on by these clips. So always be a little careful when you're pulling plastic off, just because you don't want to break anything, so take your time. And then that will reveal the fuse panel, and then here is the diagram for this fuse panel. Now, since my dash cam is mounted right there, my initial plan was to just snake the wire across, down this A-pillar, right here. What I found out, which is the next part of this process, is you have to figure out, like I mentioned, you need a ignition on fuse. All the fuses in this box they have power constantly. Even though things like the radio, which is one of the fuse options, I thought would not have power when it's not on because the radio doesn't work, there's still a little bit of power being sent to the fuse. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to go all the way to the other side, to the driver's side, in order to get ignition on power for this fuse. Now, if you don't know which fuses are ignition on, the easiest way to figure that out is with a test light. You can get one of these at AutoZone or Auto Parts or Pep Boys for not that much money. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through right now, showing you how to use a test light to figure out which fuses are ignition on. I'm not going to bother to do any of the ones on this side because I've already done them all, but I won't be able to show you which ones, how to tell the difference. So I'm going to go to the other side, and then we will walk you through how to find which ones are ignition on. So we are now over on the driver's side in the same exact location as the passenger side. You have the same door, just reversed, and it's attached the same exact way. So you're going to want to pull it off from the bottom where the fuse icon is located. Start from the bottom, pull around the front, and then you'll be able to get the whole panel off, and that will reveal the fuse panel on the driver's side. Now with your test light, what you're going to want to do is you need to ground your lead end, and then you're going to take the tip of the test light and touch it to the tops of the fuses. There is metal revealed on 2 spots on most of the fuses. Some of the fuses have 3, depending on the style. But what you're going to do is you're going to touch the test light to the top of the fuse there, and it should light up. And then as you can see, when I take it off, it doesn't light. Now what you do is, the easiest way is to go row by row, and what you're looking for is a fuse that it doesn't light up. So what I'd like to do is touch both sides of the fuse, and this first one on the top here, as you can see, we've got light. Now moving down, we have found our first fuse, it appears, that is ignition on, and then we can test a few more just to make sure. These 3 right here are ignition on. I've already done this. Now 1 more down, we've got the light again. So once you believe you've located some fuses that are ignition on, what I like to do is actually read what they are on your fuse panel. In my case, I've already decided that I'm going to use fuse number 32, which is the heated steering wheel. Now obviously not all trucks have the heated steering wheel, but the 2 fuses above that, in this case, I would imagine most trucks would have. So what we're going to do to test this now is take your key, put it in ignition, and turn it on. You don't have to start the truck. Now we're going to go back here, and I am using this brown fuse right here, which is a 7.5 amp. We're going to test the top of it, and we've got light. So we now know that this is an ignition on fuse. The other thing before you go and run your wiring that I'd suggest you do is, once we set up the fuse tap, I'm going to set it up before we actually go through the whole process of snaking the wire and just make sure it's working exactly how we want it to. That way we know everything's good. Then all we're going to do is we're going to snake the wire. In my case, I believe I'm going to snake it all the way around underneath the dash to over here, just so I don't have it hanging down in front of my head. And then we'll button everything up and you should be good to go. So a quick note on how you remove the A-pillar. I already took one of the caps off. When you're looking at it, there's a cap here and then another cap here. They look pretty similar. And what you're going to do is you want to use a pry tool or just a little flathead screwdriver and get in here. And you want to pop this off carefully so you don't dent it or anything like that. And then it reveals those 2 10mm bolts. You're going to unscrew those, and then there is a plastic clip under here just like these. So you want to pull out this way, and then that's going to break the clip free, and then you're going to pull up and back to remove this thing completely. Okay, so we've gotten everything snaked around, and the dash cam is back in its original place. The wire goes up, around, down the A-pillar, underneath the dash, under the driver's side, and then it pops out over here. I've got it plugged in. I did put a little piece of electric tape over this like almost heat shrink type material they have, just because it could slide apart, so I wanted to put that over the heat shrink. And then we have ground up here, and then what you're going to want to do obviously is test it. So right now dash cam's off. We're going to turn the ignition on, and we're just going to wait for the dash cam to start recording. And then once you see red, you know you're good. Everything's good here. We're going to turn it off again, and then we should see the dash cam power down. So now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to button everything up, throw a few zip ties on the wire underneath, and we should be good to go. So one last thing to mention that I just thought of is there are, if this is your first time doing this, there are different size fuse taps because of the different size fuses. So just keep that in mind. But if you guys have any questions, please feel free to throw them down in the comments below, and I will do my best to respond. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video.